safely discover his dead wife and rush off for the nearest doctor. Or he may have decided to arrange a convincing alibi and creep away, leaving the discovery to another. We shall never know. He will make no confession." "I wish it was well over," admitted Hollyer. "I'm not particularly jumpy, but this gives me a touch of the creeps." "3 more hours at the worst, Lieutenant," said Carrados cheerfully. "Aha! Something is coming through now." He went to the telephone and received a message from one quarter, then made another connection and talked for a few minutes with someone else. "Everything working smoothly," he remarked between times over his shoulder. "Your sister has gone to bed, Mr. Hollyer." Then he turned to the house telephone and distributed his orders. "So we," he concluded, "must get up." By the time they were ready a large closed motor car was waiting. The lieutenant thought he recognised Parkinson in the well swathed form beside the driver, but there was no temptation to linger for a second on the steps. Already the stinging rain had lashed the drive into the semblance of a frothy estuary. All round the lightning jagged its course through the incessant tremulous glow of more distant lightning, while the thunder only ceased its muttering to turn at close quarters and crackle viciously. "One of the few things I regret missing," remarked Carrados tranquilly, "but I hear a good deal of colour in it." The car slushed its way down to the gate, lurched a little heavily across the dip into the road, and, steadying as it came upon the straight, began to hum contentedly along the deserted highway. "We are not going direct?" suddenly inquired Hollyer, after they had travelled perhaps half a dozen miles. The night was bewildering enough, but he had the sailor's gift for location. "No, through Hunscott Green, and then by a field path to the orchard at the back," replied Carrados. "Keep a sharp look out for the man with the lantern about here, Harris," he called through the tube. "Something flashing just ahead, sir," came the reply, and the car slowed down and stopped. Carrados dropped the near window as a man in a glistening waterproof stepped from the shelter of a lich gate and approached. "Inspector Beedel, sir," said the stranger, looking into the car. "Quite right, Inspector," said Carrados. "Get in. I have a man with me, sir. We can find room for him as well. We are very wet. So shall we all be soon." The lieutenant changed his seat, and the two burly forms took places side by side. In less than 5 minutes the car stopped again, this time in a grassy country lane. "Now we have to face it," announced Carrados. "The inspector will show us the way." The car slid round and disappeared into the night, while Beedel led the party to a stile in the hedge. A couple of fields brought them to the Brookbend boundary. There a figure stood out of the black foliage, exchanged a few words with their guide, and piloted them along the shadows of the orchard to the back door of the house. "You will find a broken pane near the catch of the scullery window," said the blind man. "Right, sir," replied the inspector. "I have it. Now who goes through?" "Mr. Hollyer will open the door for us. I'm afraid you must take off your boots and all wet things, Lieutenant. We cannot risk a single spot inside." They waited until the back door opened. Then each one divested himself in a similar manner and passed into the kitchen, where the remains of a fire still burned. The man from the orchard gathered together the discarded garments and disappeared again. Carrados turned to the lieutenant. "A rather delicate job for you now, Mr. Hollyer. I want you to go up to your sister, wake her, and get her into another room with as little fuss as possible. Tell her as much as you think fit, and let her understand that her very life depends on absolute stillness when she is alone. Don't be unduly hurried, but not a glimmer of light, please." 10 minutes passed by the measure of the battered old alarum on the dresser shelf before the young man returned. "I've had rather a time of it," he reported with a nervous laugh, "but I think it will be quite all right now. She's in the spare room." "Then we will take our places. You and Parkinson come with me to the bedroom. Inspector, you have your own arrangements. Mr. Carlyle will be with you." They dispersed silently about the house. Hollyer glanced apprehensively at the door of the spare room as they passed it, but within was as quiet as the grave. Their room lay at the other end of the passage. "You may as well take your place in the bed now, Hollyer," directed Carrados, when they were inside and the door closed. "Keep well down among the clothes. Creake has to get up on the balcony, you know, and he will probably peep through the window, but he dare come no further. Then, when he begins to throw up stones, slip on this dressing gown of your sister's. I'll tell you what to do after." The next 60 minutes drew out into the longest hour that the lieutenant had ever known. Occasionally he heard a whisper pass between the two men who stood behind the window curtains, but he could see nothing. Then Carrados threw a guarded remark in his direction. "He's in the garden now." Something scraped slightly against the outer wall, but the night was full of wilder sounds, and in the house the furniture and the boards creaked and sprung between the yawling of the wind among the chimneys, the rattle of the thunder, and the pelting of the rain. It was a time to quicken the steadiest pulse, and when the crucial moment came, when a pebble suddenly rang against the pane with a sound that the tense waiting magnified into a shivering crash, Hollyer leapt from the bed on the instant. "Easy, easy," warned Carrados feelingly. "We will wait for another knock." He passed something across. "Here is a rubber glove. I have cut the wire, but you had better put it on. Stand just for a moment at the window. Move the catch so that it can blow open a little, and drop immediately. Now." Another stone had rattled against the glass. For Hollyer to go through his part was the work merely of seconds, and with a few touches Carrados spread the dressing gown to more effective disguise about the extended form. But an unforeseen and, in the circumstances, rather horrible interval followed, for Creake, in accordance with some detail of his never revealed plan, continued to shower missile after missile against the panes, until even the unimpressionable Parkinson shivered. "The last act," whispered Carrados a moment after the throwing had ceased. "He has gone round to the back. Keep as you are. We take cover now." He pressed behind the arras of an extemporized wardrobe, and the spirit of emptiness and desolation seemed once more to reign over the lonely house. From half a dozen places of concealment ears were straining to catch the first guiding sound. He moved very stealthily, burdened perhaps by some strange scruple in the presence of the tragedy that he had not feared to contrive, paused for a moment at the bedroom door, then opened it very quietly, and in the fickle light read the consummation of his hopes. "At last!" they heard the sharp whisper drawn from his relief. "At last!" He took another step, and two shadows seemed to fall upon him from behind, one on either side. With primitive instinct a cry of terror and surprise escaped him as he made a desperate movement to wrench himself free, and for a short second he almost succeeded in dragging one hand into a pocket. Then his wrists slowly came together and the handcuffs closed. "I am Inspector Beedel," said the man on his right side. "You are charged with the attempted murder of your wife, Millicent Creake." "You're mad," retorted the miserable creature, falling into a desperate calmness. "She's been struck by lightning." "No, you blackguard, she hasn't," wrathfully exclaimed his brother-in-law, jumping up. "Would you like to see her?" "I also have to warn you," continued the inspector impassively, "that anything you say may be used as evidence against you." A startled cry from the farther end of the passage arrested their attention. "Mr. Carrados!" called Hollyer. "Oh, come at once!" At the open door of the other bedroom stood the lieutenant, his eyes still turned towards something in the room beyond, a little empty bottle in his hand. "Dead!" he exclaimed tragically, with a sob. "With this beside her. Dead, just when she would have been free of the brute." The blind man passed into the room, sniffed the air, and laid a gentle hand on the pulseless heart. "Yes," he replied. "That, Hollyer, does not always appeal to the woman, strange to say." End of the tragedy at Brookbend Cottage.